Hello everybody, this week we are going to talk about scripts, storyboards, and treatments. We've done a lot of the preliminary work on your project, the idea, the creative part, sort of the brainstorming part, coming up with plot lines, ad campaigns, characters, etc. So now we're going to move into more specific thoughts, processes, stories, scripts, things like that, right? So when you think about broadcast production treatments, they come in different forms with very particular purposes. So the type of treatment you're going to do is obviously going to be based on the type of production you're making. Your book talks about these details and these differences in chapter 8, so make sure you read that. A treatment is sort of like an outline or a basic vision. It can really help you prepare for your recording or shoot by working out on paper exactly what you're going to film and or record. So much of this is in the details and the pre-production planning. So a well-produced and prepared treatment allows you to gather all the necessary resources and information while you're still in the pre-production phase, right? So you got to understand certain things about your project before you start to do a treatment. The structure and the narrative, right? What's the story about? How's it going to work? What do we need to make that happen? The number of locations and places you have to visit or use for your shoot. How many cast members you need when you're doing a dramatized project like we are. How many interviewees or contributors you need. That's just if you're doing a news piece. How long the piece is likely to be. All these things are very important for you to know so you can be prepared. And if you prepare your treatment well, you're going to raise some important questions about your project. How have I got too much to do? Have I forgotten anything? Is there anything I need to get permission or permits for? Right? Do I need specific props or costumes? All those things really matter, right? And doing a treatment will help you think about those things in advance, which is what pre-production is all about. If your production is dramatized fiction like ours is, there are two main types of treatments that we're going to help you work out what you need to do. You have a storyboard and you have a scene breakdown, right? We're going to look at both of those, but both of those need a script, right? You have to have a script that dictates everything else. So an effective script does more than just tell the actors what to say. It also provides valuable pre-production information by telling the reader, the production people, where each scene is going to be set, how many locations there are, the type of action required, what is going to actually happen, do I need anything to make that happen, what the cast is going to look like, what they're wearing, any effects and or props that are needed for the specific scenes. So much more than just the words, right? When you look at pages 46 and 49 in your textbook and in your ebook, I think it's section 1.9, I believe, you're going to find templates for both TV and a radio script. You're going to see that each of the scenes is given a number, and much of the dialogue is also given a number. These numbers are really important. They help everybody know where they are in the script. Professionals find that it's often much easier to find numbers such as these when using scripts rather than finding specific words. The numbers stand out more and they're universal, right? Not everyone is going to know the script words backwards and forwards. So you can't just say, go to the scene where Marianne goes to the store. Numbers, do the numbers, right? And also notice that the writers haven't just provided dialogue in the script templates. Much of the writing is telling the reader what the characters look like, what the scenery looks like, what the characters are doing, and how they're doing it. It's all there for you to then hopefully visualize and bring to life. Or you take the visualization, you take the description, you visualize it, and then you're able to bring it to life, right? So you want to think of a scene as self-contained in one time in one place. If there's a change in the time and or place of the action, it's always considered a new or a different scene, right? So think about that when you're thinking about writing scripts and putting this all together. One thing that you want to try to do when you're writing for television or any sort of writing in this vein is to try and avoid what is often called directing from the page. You want to let the dialogue dictate the action. Unless it's really crucial, don't add words like angrily or sarcastically or getting madder to your dialogue as direction. If you add too much of that about the actual delivery of the lines, the writer runs a real risk of confining the director and the actor to just one way of doing the scene and cramping their creative process. At some point, a writer for projects like this have to just let go of the material, right, and let it continue on. Now, you may be the director, And if you're also the director, you can continue to control that in. But at some point, you have to really let it go, or it's going to really constipate the process, right? So try not to direct from the page. And remember that anytime a new character is introduced in a script, it's a good idea to describe them physically, especially if it has anything to do with the actions that are about to happen, right? That may have a direct impact on the impact of the scene and what you're expecting to happen, what the person looks like, and what they bring to the scene in a physical way. The formatting is important because it's pretty universal, and this is often how you'll see scripts in the real world. You're going to center all the text on the page, so don't put it all to the left. Center it all. Always capitalize character names. Always capitalize actions and setting descriptions to differentiate between those and dialogue, because only the dialogue is in normal sentence case. Everything else should be in all caps, so you can tell. Just look at a page and tell the difference, right? That makes it so much easier for actors and production staff to pay attention to what is most important to them, right? If you're an actor, you don't necessarily need to know all the stuff in all caps. You just need to worry about your words and vice versa. So don't forget to number the lines in your individually numbered scenes, as it makes it makes it much easier for everyone involved to follow and reference later. Remember, a typical scene can have a typical script can have dozens of scenes, so numbering the scenes and their respective lines individually is really the only way to keep everyone literally on the same page, right? So make sure you think about that. And look at the templates, all right there, right? Here's an example that I pulled in from a past semester. The descriptions, the character names, they're all in all caps. It's scene 12. Within scene 12, you see 7 lines, at least on this slide, right? So you can see that it's easy, hopefully, to differentiate between dialogue and everything else. And now I could just say scene 12, line 6, rather than trying to say, go to the scene where David says, I just meant, right? So think about how many people are going to be using a script as a guideline for different purposes, and remember to make it easier for them to access. When you do your scripts for this week's discussion board, I'm going to look for this format and hold you to it. So make sure you do that. Another way to do a treatment is often what people will do is what's called a storyboard. They usually use these in dramatized projects, fiction projects like ours, but not as often, in fact, factual or news pieces because it's real life. But when you're doing a project like ours, you're probably going to want to consider using storyboards. It's hard for us to do them in this online class because they tend to be hand-drawn. So this is a concept I want you to conceive, to grasp, and think of for the future, but we probably won't do them directly in this class. Still, they're an important part of the process. So storyboards are used to help you think about the kinds of shots you need and to get a sense of how the story should start to actually look on the screen, right? Storyboards are going to help you work out details like the shots, and by shots I mean field of view, camera angle, stuff like that we're going to get into, right? The size of the shots, the angle of the shots, the moves on the shots, the depth of field, all those things we're going to get into, right? But putting it on paper and being able to show it to someone, show it to your director of photography, or show it to your camera person, can help your vision actually literally come to life because you're showing them literally what you see in your mind, right? If you download I'll put this in Blackboard too, there's a link to a recent Google search with examples of storyboards. And remember, they come in all shapes and sizes. They don't have to be especially professional to be effective and useful, right? In fact, many times people will just do stick figures and rudimentary shapes because you're just using them to help get the visualization out, right? You'll see some storyboards that are works of art, especially on your bigger projects, but they don't have to be that way to fulfill the purpose, right? Here's an example that I put in here from a Batman animated series. And you can see each block, its square or rectangle rather, is an example of the shot. So we can see Robin turning his head. We can see the action of Batman going off to the right of the screen. We can see the water coming out of the looks like refuse coming out of the pipe in the last panel. So it's all designed to help. I would show this to someone and say, this is what I want it to look like, right? And we'd all have a map, right? Here's a much simpler example. Someone using stick figures and arrows and very basic shapes does the exact same thing. You get an idea of what's going on and what I should see within the frame itself, right? So don't obsess about making the storyboard perfect. it's really about getting your message across in a visual way. Another thing to think about is scene breakdowns, or our scene breakdowns. When you're shooting more than one scene for your production, right? Think of a scene breakdown like a timetable, right? And most productions are going to have way more than one scene, obviously, right? So these are really important. If you think of them like a timetable, they're going to help you make the most out of your time, and helps everyone understand who needs to be where, when, and what they need to bring. On page 52 in your textbook and in that other section of the ebook, you're going to find template, I think it's called 8.5, to get an idea of how scene breakdowns are used to make the most of a production schedule. You got to have multiple scenes, multiple actors, multiple props, multiple costumes, locations, right? So a good scene breakdown is going to allow you to maximize your production time in the smartest way possible. Time is money. So if you shoot all your production scenes set in the classroom at once, by arranging for the different actors, props, costumes, etc. to be on hand, rather than coming back multiple times, you're going to save time and money and a lot of headaches, right? And you'll come off very professional, because that's what they do in the real professional world, right? When you're thinking about these ideas and concepts and applying them to the news, meaning real stories, right? Going out and shooting something for your local news, let's say. An outline or a treatment typically takes a two-column approach. The left side has the sound effects, or the nat sounds, the actual sounds we call them, and the right column for the audio, the interviewees, or the announcer, the script. When you're doing television productions, those are for radio. When you're doing television productions, an outline treatment typically takes a two-column approach, with the left side for the visuals, right, and the right column for the audio voiceover. You can see templates like this in your book. We're focusing mostly on the narrative fictional production for our class project, but these are also aspects of broadcast production that I want you to think about. All right, so for the discussion related to this material, I want you to come up with the basis for one scene script for our TV project. You must follow the format as shown on pages 46 through 48 of your book in your ebook. It's just as much about the format as it is the writing. I really want you to get an idea of what a script should look like, right? For this, I want you to include at least 3 characters. I want you to include descriptions of settings, characters, and actions when needed. This scene that you're going to write does not need to directly connect to any other scene. This is an exercise in script templates more than anything, as I said. Please use the plot line you previously submitted in which to set this specific scene, right? Remember, a plot line can consist of many scenes, so pick just one from that plot line to focus on, right? But build on what you did before. This scene should be at least 15 lines total, and as always, I've posted you an example to get you started. Remember that TV script writers should try and avoid what is often called directing from the page. Let the dialogue dictate the acting, right? Don't try to overwrite. Center all the text on the page. Always capitalize character names. Always capitalize actions and setting descriptions. You're trying to set off the dialogue from everything else. Again, this is all about formatting. Look at the example I posted. Look at the book material in your textbook. You want to number the lines in your individually numbered scenes, as it makes it much easier for everyone to follow. Again, this is just as much about following the format as it is about the writing itself, and the grading will reflect that. Okay? So now it's time to take your ideas and put them to paper, right? Take the plot line you previously submitted that you've already thought about and fleshed out a bit. You're going to add words to it using the format that I've asked you to follow, and you're going to put it on the discussion board, and we're going to talk about them. And remember, this is good for a discussion board credit grade and also an assignment grade. So I'll see you on the boards.